You know what cancer taught me was not to be so damn insecure.
But this is another level. I mean, going through chemo with a baby.
I wanted to be done. I didn't want to talk about my boobs anymore. Being content with whatever's going on in the moment and not having to force myself to work so hard.
Right.
So maybe take a few items off the plate.
Welcome back to Cake for Dinner, where we talk all things motherhood. Today's guest is Ashley Catronio. She is the owner of Room 8, which is an amazing boutique in Delray Beach. And we talked a lot about being a mom, being a stepmom, overcoming cancer, and how she manages to balance all the things. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Part of this podcast is really, women, moms really being authentic in the world. And when thinking about like who I should have on, one of the things that I've always admired about you is every time I show up to a new thing you're doing, it's always so great. And I don't know what I'm expecting, but it's always like next level. So, and I happen to know that you have beat cancer and you're a mother and you're a stepmother and you're a wife and a business owner. And so I'd like to just jump into how do you do all of that?
Honestly, it's funny because I get that a lot. How are you getting this all done in a day? And I think part of it is because of the cancer, is that I realized how quickly things move. And if I want something, I'm going to go out and do it. And I am like a no excuses type person. So there is enough time in the day if you want to do it. If you want to get it done, you will get it done. So it's definitely at times certain things get a little neglected, but there is, for me, it's just I want to do it all. And I think that's evident in my way of life is I just want to do it all. And I'm lucky that I do have a very supportive husband who sees that. He sees he's not going to be able to get in my way.
Right. And probably loves that about you.
I think so. So.
And so I knew you before, but not well. Is that like a new motto for you based on cancer? So living life to the fullest. Like, were you always like that?
I think that in some capacity I was, and I think that, my family could probably attest to that they were never truly going to get in my way. And whatever Ashley's mind was set to was going to happen.
Right.
No matter which way it will. It
right, good or bad.
Good or bad. She was going to make it happen. I think that now I believe in myself a little bit more. And so I do take bigger risks. I'm not, what cancer taught me was not to be so damn insecure.
I love that.
And what having kids taught me and just going through some of the real pits of life, it's sped up that process where I feel like that's something we learn maybe later in life is to embrace yourself and all the good, the bad, the ugly. But I think cancer brought me there quicker.
Interesting, because you told me one of the times I was in your store that cancer put you into early menopause.
Yeah.
And one of the good things about menopause is getting to the place where you're, I think, more settled emotionally and less concerned with silly stuff, So it's it has a lot of shit that's not great.
Yeah.
But that is one of the things that I enjoy about this stage of life that you kind of got propelled into.
Yeah. So it wasn't gradual. I remember my oncologist saying to me, imagine a volume dial. And for most women, it goes gradually shutting off hormones. For me, it was imagine your child taking the volume and
So no perimenopause, just
no,
straight.
it was straight at 29 years old,
Unbelievable.
directly into it. But at least I got a heads up. So there's that.
Yeah. What age were you when you were diagnosed with cancer?
I was 29 years old. So that was 2 days before my son's first birthday. So like just over 8 years ago or 7 years ago. Yeah, so I was diagnosed at 29. I was late stage 2. So for like the technical terms that only really other breast cancer patients ask is I was HER2 negative, ERPR positive, which mean I had a hormone positive cancer. And I think what I do, like I often stress, is the listen to your body, because I didn't have a history of breast cancer in my family. My brother had bone cancer, my dad had prostate, but it wasn't on the radar. So when I started to feel something, it was kind of dismissed because I just had a baby and I was breastfeeding and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Meanwhile, I had stopped breastfeeding for months by then. And I even had an ultrasound that it wasn't seen on. And then finally, my husband really pushed me to like keep pressing the doctors, because now I'm sleeping uncontrollably and like not eating and all those things that could also be chalked up to being a new mom.
Sure.
But I finally went back to the doctor, had an ultrasound, was immediately rushed for a mammogram, and then that same day I had a biopsy. And still in my mind I'm going, it's nothing. It's not. And I remember driving home from the biopsy, like they did it in my armpit and my breast, and making dinner for the kids and just going about my weekend. It was a long weekend, and it was Labor Day weekend. And then that following Tuesday, I called the doctor to like, hey, what's going on? And the response was, we were just getting ready to call you. And that's when I found out. And the weird thing is I remember calling my mom right after and going and thinking in my head, well, we'd been through cancer so many times. So I'm like, well, now it's my turn. And her being like, wait, what? And like not being so afraid, because I had watched my brother when we were young, because I watched my dad. They were different, but I remember feeling like, I know this.
I can do this.
I like, yeah.
Did the gravity of it sink in slowly or later?
After my PET scan, when they discovered that it was 7 tumors, and when it had reached my lymph nodes, that's when it got scary.
Right.
It got scary. You read it's funny is because I haven't talked about it in a long time. So I was looking at my old medical records, and the verbiage used in it is like very ominous, and talking about outcomes and how my outcome was not great. And I was reading it this morning because I was like, I need a refresher on what happened, because I think a part of me blocks it out. But so I think after, you go through the chemo, you go through the surgery. I didn't opt to rebuild.
All with a baby.
Yes.
Like, walk me through this. Like, I need to, because this podcast is about how we parent in the face of all the things we do. But this is another level. I mean, going through chemo with a baby.
Yeah. And what's interesting is during that time, I actually started working with another foundation, because I couldn't imagine I was thinking of all the mothers who were single mothers who didn't have the option to get help, or were choosing between paying a water bill and chemo.
Yeah.
That. And so I worked with a couple people and a charity that paid these women's bills, not their medical bills, but you could submit, you know, your water bill or your car insurance or even help with childcare. Because I did, at the end of the day, I did have help, but it was also like, yes, I couldn't stop staring at my child this whole time. And it was such a motivator to, you know, and there were women around me who weren't mothers, who, you know, didn't want to show up to chemo or didn't want to show up to radiation. And to me, that wasn't a choice. It was never a choice. And I wonder if I didn't have my baby and my stepsons, would I be as motivated to get through it? Like, it gave me that strength and that courage. There was guilt. There was this feeling of, I'm too tired. I can't pick you up right now. There are certain things I feel like I could have done better if I had the wherewithal to, you know, pull myself together. Maybe he would have eaten healthier, or maybe he would have potty trained faster, or all these things that eventually you go, didn't make a difference. He's a wonderful, kind boy.
He doesn't wear a diaper today.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You know, but yeah, that was definitely a challenge. And I remember being plagued with the fear of, will I be there your whole life? That, I think, was the hardest for me to swallow, was at this image. Like, I had a reoccurring nightmare of him, like my husband, like bringing him in to say goodbye to me in the hospital, and very melodramatic. But you know, those were the feelings that I
Right. I would imagine that would be a reasonable fear.
Yeah.
And then how about showing up as a wife or being a partner in that?
That, you know, they always say it's the caretakers that carry the most weight because it's a helpless feeling.
Sure.
You know, you think of addiction, the caretakers. You think of, you know, all these other diseases like
dementia.
Exactly. Alzheimer's, all those things. And the caretakers just carry this silent weight. And I think of my husband, who he's so strong and mentally, and he really pushed me to be like there was never this like, I can't believe I'm such a victim, da da da. Like, if anything, it was just like, no, we've got this. Like, look who we are.
Right.
But showing up as a wife was definitely challenging to be, you know, we weren't married that long.
How long?
Maybe 2 years.
Okay.
Or a year and a half when I got the diagnosis.
Wow, so that's big.
And we were both coming off of previous marriages.
Right.
And I remember saying to him, because I was like, well, I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to lose my boobs. I'm going to be, you know, a shell of a human for a little while, because I knew what it looked like.
Right.
And I remember sitting in my son's bedroom going, you can go. It's okay. And he looked at me like I had 5 heads. And he's like, I love you. Why would I leave you right now? But I remember, like, I'm like, this is your out. Don't do it when I'm like halfway through chemo. Right. Don't do it when I'm about to go into surgery. This is your out. And because that was my insecurity.
Sure.
You know, how could somebody love me like this? And I'm trying to be a mother, and I'm trying to feel confident at the same time while they're stripping me of anything that made me female. You know, it was definitely challenging.
Walk me through that. I know you opted not to get reconstructive surgery. So walk me through that choice.
I think growing up in the Kate Moss era was helpful.
Love that. Yeah. You're like, I don't need these.
I'm like, what? I don't have to wear a bra? That's amazing. I also saw a lot of women who before me that were doing the rebuild and the struggle of the expanders. And it was multiple surgeries. and the pain that they were in. And at that time, people started getting their implants removed. Like that became a thing. And I met with several doctors on possibly getting reconstruction. You know, I did my due diligence, but at the end of the day, I knew in my heart it was not what I wanted. I wanted to be done. I wanted to be done. I didn't want to talk about my boobs anymore. And I guess once again, I'm lucky that my husband didn't care about it, you know.
Was that a discussion for you with him or you within yourself? Like, walk me through that choice.
I talked about it with him, but I also am the type of person that like is like, I don't really care what you say.
You're gonna
still not gonna do it. But I did give him like a courtesy.
Yeah. More of a this is about to happen.
And I think it was more like, why don't we get all of our information and then we will decide together. And the other thing, so I actually was going to do the fat transfer. They did it on my first, like when they took away the, during my initial surgery, they did a little bit of fat transfer. And then when I went home, they handed me this medieval suction cup device. I remember it was terrifying. It's like an overgrown breast pump from like the 1800s. And I would have to hold it on my chest because that's how you expand the skin. And my husband had to pump. And it was
And in that moment,
we both were like, we are done. We're alive. We don't need this anymore.
There will be no boobs.
There will be no boobs. And I was, you know, it's not pretty. Like I was left with stuff to try to work with, and I've never touched it since. I'm like, I don't care. I just don't.
And then is it a reminder for you in a good way, a bad way? Like, is there any like visual that...
At times, I think when I try to, you know, as a woman, like sometimes, you know, we want to be able to wear certain things. There are definitely, especially being in fashion, there are definitely certain cuts that don't complement it. So that sometimes gets me like a little upset.
Okay.
But I'm very quickly reminded that I'm alive and that it was worth it.
And that really trumps the fashion, right?
Yeah, it does.
It does. So I just have to tell you personally, it's just such a powerful thing to learn. I don't know. I think you described it well when you said, I'm going to lose everything that makes me a woman, when you were talking about your hair and your breast. But then choosing not to do the reconstruction, it just strikes me as so confident and like, convicted, which I love. I mean, I just think it's like a bold choice and such an example.
Yeah,
for women.
I think we live in a different time now where like scars become more attractive than fake.
Yeah.
I think that you know, and not to say that I'm against plastic surgery, by all means. Like I'm more interested in people being happy.
Right. However that goes.
However that cookie crumbles, it is what it is. For me, my version was being healthy and being done. Like I didn't want to be poked and prodded anymore. Like I could not imagine going through another surgery. Like I just couldn't. And the recovery from that like there's a lot of things they don't tell you. Like, you know, I had my lymph nodes taken out. I didn't know I was going to need physical therapy for my arms after.
Right.
Like I woke up and I was like, I was stuck like this. And, you know, it was more, it became about living and enjoying life. And that's when I started to get into surfing. And that's when I started to, you know, one wheel or, you know, do things that were exciting. I just wanted to like get out of this hospital phase.
I have to tell you, when I watch you wake surf, I can feel that. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but like I can feel your freedom. I don't remember where we were, but you were like, I don't think it was a guitar, a ukulele. I don't know what it was. But you started singing. I told you this the other day on the phone, and I thought, Jesus, what does this girl not do? But when you're doing things like that, I think when you know your backstory, you can kind of feel your freedom in that. And I've always wondered, did that come from your experience?
I think it definitely propelled me. You know, I get this sense of when I want to try something or when I want to do something and I don't do it, it really bothers me. Like it'll keep me up at night. Whether it's like jumping off a cliff in the mountains or, you know, trying wake surfing. Like I get this deep sense of regret of like, why didn't I just try? And that's funny. The ukulele thing was definitely like
That one sent me home. I'm like, I got to take a lesson in something. Like I can't just be walking around the world. Like I need to. I'm actually signing up for guitar lessons.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like I'm 51 and I enjoy my life, you know, but I don't know, I'm like in this phase where I really want to like grow in like a different area. Like I want to keep learning shit.
It's the forever, I don't know if it's because I'm a Sagittarius or what, but it's this forever need to try something or learn something new.
I've never really had that. This is like new for me. And
it's fun.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I've typically been real content not knowing shit, which is bizarre. But so the other interesting thing is your whole world, this whole fashion world.
Worst business to be in.
Really. So tell me a little bit about that and how that kind of fits into this, you trying new things. And because I feel like fashion is an expression, right?
It is.
And you're very fashionable, but you're also very chill. So it's like, how does all that fit in with your personality, do you think?
I think it's more from a design point of view. It could be in anything. It could be in home decor. It could be in flowers. It could be in it can be in fashion. It can be in styling. It can be so many different ways. It's just like, I don't want to say it's like obsessive, but it's like I have a vision. And however that translates is how it translates. And fashion, yes, you know, I've always been around it. I've always worked retail growing up. I graduated with a bachelor's of science in fashion merchandising. You know, my dad was in it and I grew up in it. I think now it's really seeing people enjoy. And also I think it's the hunt.
Yeah.
I think it's the hunt of finding things that like we actually want to wear. You know, for my store, I really try to focus on what are you really going to live in and not waste your money on. You know, quality versus quantity.
I love that.
I really like to find those yummy materials or the right fit. I love denim. We all know that denim is my passion, you know, but finding the right denim for your body or finding the cozy sweater. Like I love when I get texts like, hey, I just packed for my trip to, you know, whether it's Hawaii or Aspen and my whole bag is Roommate Studio. I'm like, you know, that is fulfilling. So
how much do you care about trends or follow the trends?
I feel like I hover around it. I might not always agree with the color of the season. You know, I know that I have customers that care about it and customers that don't. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm in the world of pleasing people. So I hover around it. I'll get a little bit of it. But at the end of the day, it's really like transitional pieces that can go from this year to next year to 10 years from now. But yeah, I'm not crazy on trends.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like you say, it is people-pleasing industry, right? So a percentage of your store sort of represents probably your style and kind of who you are, and then you dabble in.
Yeah. It's like there are things in my store that I don't necessarily love for me.
But they're a...
I love for my customers because I know that they will love it.
Right.
You know, and that's the hard part. It's like when you hire somebody to design your home, but they have like a traditional aesthetic and you have a mid-century aesthetic. You know, you have to be able to see beyond yourself.
Right.
So
not everybody can do that in a variety of areas: design, home design, hair.
Yeah.
You know, I think you experience that across the board. But I think that's where like the artist comes in. Like you have to be able to, I like that, see beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And where does the name come from? Room 8.
Oh boy. So I read an article actually with Gwyneth Paltrow years ago where she talked about double O's in a name and that it's memorable. So I was playing around with that. And then if you think of the number 8, it's kind of like a double O in its own right. And my best friend Mel and I worked together, and at first we were like roommates because we are essentially roommates, but we played on like, you know, it is sort of like that boutique you would find in a hotel, you know, so having a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So where can I go shopping? You can go to room 8. It's a long, drawn out, but we fell in love with it. But
that's the, you know, the magic behind entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I mean, names of companies always have a story.
They have a story, and some are just like Gwyneth Paltrow literally said GP and then added the double O's to Goop.
Right.
Like, so
it's a story and a strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whether my strategy made any sense, I didn't want a name that was so specific. I wanted it to be a little more ambiguous because knowing me, I'll come up with something else that will be under the umbrella of roommate. So,
right.
Yeah.
I like that. So back to the cancer, one of the things that I had thought about, my girlfriend, her son has had leukemia, I think 3 times. She's always told me that one of the hardest parts for her being a mom is that everyone's in it with you when you're in it. You know, he was in the hospital for a year at one point. People are doing the food train or whatever that is. But she said one of the hardest parts was after the cancer. So the cancer's over. He's better now, but she's now not worked for a year, completely going broke, has now not been in a relationship, you know, like their lives. He couldn't walk the same because his bones, you know, just 1,000 things. And she's like, but everyone expects you to just like go back to life. Yeah. And she's like, now I'm moving different in the world. And she had a lot of resentment. Like, did you experience that after?
So there is a lot of like, you know, you look at me and I have hair now and I have eyebrows now and I pull myself together and I play sports and all these things. But
you look healthy.
I look healthy. But at the end of the day, I am still not necessarily free of cancer. They call it stage 0. Which it's in existence, but it's not, you know, I'm not in chemo. I take a boatload of pills every day and I get an injection in my stomach every 28 days. And that's my regimen for 10 years, which has since caused osteoporosis, heart disease. I'm in menopause. So that causes its own issues.
And you can't take hormone replacement, right?
Absolutely. No, because that would feed my cancer.
Feed the cancer.
So I totally relate to the way she expressed that she moves about differently. You know, I wake up in the morning and I feel like an 80-year-old woman. My bones hurt, my joints hurt, everything hurts. I don't sleep the way I used to sleep. Like I'll get aches in my chest. And with all that aside, my risk of a cancer reoccurrence is high for, you know, what I went through, somebody my age.
Is that young to be diagnosed?
There's definitely more of a uptick in that, but the younger you are, the higher your risk of fatality. It's just, I don't want to speak to it on a medical level, but according to statistics, that is a thing. So I feel as though I have my moments where I worry, what's this pain? All of a sudden I'm sleeping a little bit more. Now I've lost my appetite. You know, I do have those moments. You move about, you think differently. A headache is no longer just a headache. You know,
She used to say if I get a call from the school that he doesn't feel well, she's like, it's not the same call you'll ever get, Keisha. Like, it's like, I think a different thing right away.
Yeah.
Which I would think would be so normal.
Right. So like every time, you know, you go for a blood test and the doctor calls you in, you know, it's not just like
different.
add vitamin D to your regimen. It's just different.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you move about differently, and there's not any grace anymore in that. You know, people want the old you back.
Right.
They want this phase to be over.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not.
Yeah, and it never is.
No, it never is. I watched my brother go through it. He was 18. He had bone cancer, and he got through it. It's been past 10 years, so he's fully in remission. But he moves different. Not only does he physically walk differently, but he moves about life differently.
Do you relate to him in a different way now? Like, has this brought you guys closer?
It definitely has brought us closer. We had such different cancers. But we can relate to each other on the level of like our lives were supremely disrupted.
Right.
And now he's a father of 2 beautiful daughters when they told him he probably could never have kids because of all the chemo he had to go through.
That's what they've told my friend about her
But
son.
he, like, without any assistance.
Oh, that's inspiring.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of
What am I?
in your life, as a mom or in general?
Perseverance. You know, it's funny. My son and he's very, very opinionated and
very cute.
Yes. We were arguing a lot over the summer. And close to the end of the summer, I asked him, does it upset him that we've been arguing? And he looked at me and he goes, sometimes, but I know that the feeling's going to pass and we'll get over it. And that to me was like, okay, you are going to be just fine in life. Yeah, you are going to be all right. And I've done my job.
Yeah,
you're
like
feelings
check.
Will not get you down. Yes, you feel them, but you know it doesn't last forever. And I honestly...
What an amazing perspective. Because he's how old?
He's 8. He just turned 8 last weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. Then, okay, we're fine here.
Yeah.
I felt that way about my daughter, even though she was so difficult to raise. But there were things that she would do along the way that I knew she's going to be hard to raise. But ultimately, she's going to, be fine, and she's going to be an amazing woman.
Yeah.
You know, because part of being an amazing woman is having attributes that are hard to wrestle as a young person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, they're not fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're not fun as they're shaping.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
As the edges soften. That's not a fun show to watch. But the outcome.
Yeah. No, he's somebody who feels deeply. He is somebody who can be sensitive, but he's not somebody that's going to break over somebody saying something not nice. Which
is a great quality to have these days now coming up.
Yes. Like he can express that bothered him, but it's like on to the next, which I really admire.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I have one more question, but the whole premise of the cake for dinner idea is that when I get sad, my dad makes me cake. I know you have a close relationship with your family too. So this is special for me, and especially this is about like us talking about like our deep stuff, you know? So we're going to eat the cake, and then I will ask you, so in light of all this stuff that you've gone through, is there anything that you look back on and feel like you wish you would have done different, or anything you're working towards now?
I think that something I wish I had done different. Contentment. I would say maybe being content and not. I've always had this drive to be successful, whether that's monetarily or whether it's in a competition. It's just this drive to get to the top of something.
Of whatever you're doing.
And I think that in some ways that served me, in some ways it hasn't. And I think that being content with whatever's going on in the moment and not having to force myself to work so hard.
Right.
So maybe take a few items off the plate is what I think I would change.
Yeah, I like that. Also, I think a lot of that too comes with age. Is like, I feel like in your 20s, well, in your 20s, who knows what the fuck you're doing, but in your 30s, you're kind of like striving, you know, like as a mom, you're like trying to get somewhere. You were overcoming cancer, so it's like how you were going to do that, amazing, who knows. But 40s, you start to land a little.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you have so much to look forward to, because in the 50s, you just sit down.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's largely about contentment.
Yeah.
I think some of it comes from figuring out that you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Life's going to just bitch smack you, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
But the good side of that is you do kind of sit down in it, which allows you, I think, then to enjoy what's happening.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I actually started puzzling.
Well, that is wild. If I come to your house and there's like a puzzle the size of your home.
My living room has become I like to get those.
Does anybody puzzle with you?
They watch. No, my sister-in-law. When I go up to North Carolina, we puzzle together, but it's like my outlet. It's like it's the one. I mean, I love hockey. I love wake surfing.
I was going to say, do you need another?
I do. Well, I just need to be active, but it's the only thing that gets me to sit still. So there's that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, once I
get try this.
Okay. Once I get this, my guitar going, I'll play it for you.
We'll start a band.
Oh, Jesus.
I've already got it.
No, you're going too far. You're going too far. Well, thank you so much for coming. I think it really provides people with a lot of hope and, you know, overcoming. I want to close with this, because overcoming obstacle, I don't think that's unique, because I think women rise every day. But thriving and choosing joy after obstacle, I think, is very unique to you. And I think that really shines. And that's where I think like people can really learn. So I'm hoping people really get that from this talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yay.